Welcome to Cowboy, the legend, the legacy. I'm Red Steagall. These are the boys in the bunkhouse, and shortly we'll be joined by a great lady and a very special friend, Miss Reba McEntire. We're going to celebrate the life of the working cowboy in song, poetry, and story. Riding back to Texas from a drive to Abilene, with the wagon, the remuda, and the crew. The Cimarron was boiling red and rising by the hour. Was suicide to push the horses through. Now Cody Bill was whining about his darling Nana Lee. He'd left her crying back in San Antonio. The 1,000 times he'd read the note he carried in his jeans. Cody, darling, won't you hurry home? And you know, work ethic is either learned by example or by experience. Here's a poem that I wrote about a couple of childhood experiences that really made an impression on me. We'd picked up all the fencing tools and staples off the road. An extra roll of barbed wire was the last thing left to load, and I drew a sleeve across my face to wipe away the dirt, and the young man who was helping me was tucking in his shirt. I turned around to him and said, "This fence is finally done. 5 new strands of barbed wire shining proudly in the sun, and the wire, it's running straight and tight, with every post in line. The kind of job you're proud of, one that stands the test of time." The kid was not impressed at all, just stared off into space. Reminded me of years ago, another time and place when I called myself a cowboy. I was full of buck and ball, and I didn't think my hands would fit post augers in a mall. But they sent me out with Shorty and the ranch fence building crew. Oh, I was quite insulted. And before the day was through, I let him know that I'm a cowboy. This ain't what I do. I ain't no dadgum nester I hired out to buckaroo. He said, "We'll talk about that, son, when we get in tonight, but right now you pick them augers up. It's either that or fight." And there's a young lady with us who knows all about family, and she knows all about a pawpaw. She called him Grandpap. Reba, would you join me?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Have a seat.
Okay, all right.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Now I want to hear about Grandpap.
Okay, well, my grandpap is my daddy's daddy, like as you know, and he's a very funny character. He was a widower pretty early in life, but he always took care of us kids. Wherever we were up in the mountains, gathering cattle, Daddy would always say, "Oh, hey, you kids." Well, we'd never hear a word he said. And we'd all look to Grandpap. What'd Daddy say? What are we supposed to do? And Grandpap would go over the instructions thoroughly, step by step, and let each one of us know what to do. So if it wasn't for Grandpap, us kids probably would still be up in that 8,000 acres in Chalky, Oklahoma, lost.
You know, Reba, they say that the West was tough on men and dogs, and hell on women and men.
Yeah. What I've heard, I believe that.
I sometimes wonder how those ladies kept their sanity, because they often went months without the pleasure of another lady's company.
Uh-huh.
And somewhere out on the plains of the panhandles of Texas, Oklahoma, or western Kansas, or eastern New Mexico, lived a lady who wrote little sonnets on pieces of linen. And then she'd tie them with ribbons to tumbleweeds and turn them loose in the wind. And the cowboys had find them out on that vast prairie. You know, that must have eased her loneliness a little bit, to know that somewhere, sometime, she had contact with the outside world. And also, can you imagine what that meant to that cowboy who found that sonnet and that thing written on that piece of linen, evidently in a lady's hand, so far away from home and the pleasure of a lady's company? Well, Louis L'Amour took that story. They don't know who that lady was, but he took the story and he wrote a novel about it. And then Sam Elliott and Catherine Ross made a movie called Conager. It was a good movie. Mm-hmm. But my brother Danny and Ace Ford and I like to think this is the way it happened.
Okay.
Boys.
On a fence line north of Esteli,
strangest sight I'd ever seen was a note tied with a ribbon to a rolling tumbleweed. Brazos tossed his head and shied. We got caught up on the wire. Stepped down from my saddle horse and gave that note to read. Lines that were written in a fair woman's hand told of her life and the loss of her man. And it's her heart and her hopes she has cast in the wind, and it's me that old tumbleweed chose. Fine Red River Road. In a cedar cabin 'neath the canyon wall, we light a fire and watch the snowflakes fall. I'm glad it's me that old tumbleweed chose. Fine Red River Road. I love my